What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about this RSX right here. Why? Because they are famous for power steering leaks, and we're going to replace that issue with the EPS system out of an ep3 Civic. Let's get to it. So here's the main components you're going to need for this swap. When you get the EPS system out of the ep3 Civic, make sure you get the original brackets. They are totally different. This is the RSX bracket. That's the ep3 bracket. You can tell the difference, way different. You need the pulley for the delete. You could get the ep3 if you can't afford it. If you're at a salvage yard picking this stuff anyways, it'll help. It's cheaper. Or you could go with a K-tune, which is way more expensive. Make sure you pull the ECU system out and try to get the chassis plug itself off the ep3. That way you can make it a plug and play system. Again, brackets are totally different. This is the ep3 bracket. This is the RSX bracket. Way different. So make sure you get the brackets, some sort of pulley system, the ECU system, and obviously the EPS. I'm going to be using the DC5 Creations riser kit and billet bushing kit for this to correct the issue with the angle on the tie rods itself, which I'll show that once it's installed in the vehicle. All right, so for the wiring itself, you're gonna have to, well, I already Googled the information for the EPS off the ep3, and this is the wiring information I came up with for the main signal wires that we're gonna need off this actual plug here. And I went to Google K-Tune's website and got the information for the RSX, which these are the pinouts we're gonna need to wire this here. So when it comes to the EPS, you're gonna need the blue and white wire for the VSS, which is gonna be on this plug here, the blue and white. Then you need the solid blue for the engine RPM signal, which is gonna be the solid blue here. These two. And then you're gonna need the yellow wire for its power source, which is gonna be this one here, the solid yellow. And these are gonna connect to A18 on the RSX side, which is the VSS signal, is gonna connect to this blue and white one off the ep3. E9, which is the black and yellow for the ignition source, is gonna go to the yellow wire. And then the E29, which is the solid blue, is going to the RPM signal, which is gonna be to solid blue. And you're gonna need to put the main power source to at least a 60 amp fuse. That way nothing burns. And with a decent sized wire, at least an 8 gauge. The ground, it's already on this harness itself. So all you need is a 10mm bolt for that. Once you get this wired, it's pretty simple after that. So let me get to it and see if this thing works. Here's the pulley itself. Once I sanded it down, painted it wrinkle black, looks nice and clean. The belt, you will need any auto parts, Vance, AutoZone, Napa, whichever you choose to pick, whatever's closest to you. Regular belt for 2005 Civic ep3 Si, and it bolts right in with AC and everything. Here is the EPS system installed already. Like I said, I put the dc5 Creations billet riser and billet bushing kit in there. That's what it looks like. I already ran all the wires. I went through that factory location down there. I took the boot out, ripped the slit in it, and ran all my wiring through there. And then I put it back on. Looks pretty clean. That's what it looks like. Then I'll show you inside when it comes to the wiring. So here's the wiring for the EPS system. For the pinouts, the only wire that changes is this red one that I added. I made my own little harness, as you can see. Here's the information for the pinouts that I'm gonna need. I made sure I wrote down red for the VSS signal. I ended up soldering all the wires together in here and made my own little custom harness for the ECU side. I don't want to cut into anything. I want everything to be kind of plugged in. If I ever want to take it out for any weird reason, I can. And this is the tape that I'll use for it. Pretty good tape, Tesla tape, I guess. But this stuff is fire resistant, pretty good. This is used for like engine harnesses and stuff and race cars, so I love this tapes. You could get this from Amazon fairly cheap, but that's how it came out. So here's the ECU routing as it comes from inside the engine compartment. I went through the plug that's behind the throttle right there. You can see it right by the gas pedal itself. There's a plug there. I made sure it's sealed. I sprayed water and stuff through the engine bay. No water came in, so we're good there. Just gonna reroute this. Got the ground and put it to the ground up here. There's a 10mm bolt right there that I'm gonna attach it to. I got a 60 amp fuse right here. As you can see, as mentioned, you need a 60 amp fuse for this. That way this has the proper power. So I am gonna solder it to this side, and if you ever want to take it off, it'll come off with the factory plug on the other end. Here's the custom wire that I did. After I soldered everything together, I fed it through there. I'll pull it on the other side, and I'll show you the other side now when I tap into the ECU. So here's the wiring that I did, ran on the other side, and here's the pinouts. How do you determine? You're looking at your ECU, you have plug A, plug B, plug E. Computer sits upside down, so it's kind of confusing. Best thing to do is kind of take it out so you can look at it. I did make a mistake here, and I put E29 for the RPM signal. For the blue wire happens to be E26, which is right here on the E plug. E29 is a whole different wire, so good thing I caught that. I wrote down 29 for some reason. It was E26 for the, again, for the RPM signal that you're gonna need for the EPS system. The way I did it, I put these little clips here. That way these clip on to all the wires. I don't want to cut any of the factory wiring on the engine harness, so everything should be plug and play after that. And that's what it looks like once you run it through the other side. I'm gonna put it all where they go and then zip tie everything together, put the ECU back up, and it should be ready to go. Here's what it looks like afterwards. I ended up using these little clips. Usually goes around a cable, clips on, and then you could attach the wires to it on the pin out exactly how I wrote it down. And that's the final product. You can see the little jumper harness right here. You can follow it through, and it looks like it's factory. You can't even tell it's part of the car. Once I put this ECU cover back on, you won't be able to see nothing. Came out nice and clean. And here's the final result. Nice and tucked away, can't see anything. All the wires put away, little brain boxes put away. Everything's nice and clean now. Can't see any of it. Let's see if it works. Steering's hard there. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. Just like that, we have electric steering. One finger. Nice. I like it. That's it for today. Hopefully you guys like what I showed you, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Thanks again.